All right, I'm just starting my journey on the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route. This is an off-road trail that stretches from the south of Washington all the way up to Canada. And I'm not going to do the whole thing. However, I'm starting on kind of the middle of section 3, and I'm figuring I'm going to end around section 4. So I'm going to be doing this for the next week or two, kind of just like camping along. For the past week, I've been camping like just down there in that valley. Beautiful place. This is a really remote place as well. I've only seen one other person. And when I was down there camping, I didn't even see another human. So it's pretty empty out here. The first destination that I'm at on this route is called Lion Rock. And it's a little bit of a detour, like a mile off, which is not a big deal. And I'm camping up here. I thought this was going to be a lot more popular. It's a really beautiful lookout. But like I was saying, I think this is just a really remote area. So I have the whole place to myself. I was driving along this route a little bit earlier and it's super beautiful. So hopefully I'll get to catch another cool sunset. You might be able to tell there's a ton of smoke from forest fires. So there's a huge fire ban right now. There's a big number 4 urgency forest fire in the Pacific Northwest going like 40 miles south of me. So there's tons of smoke. So it's making the visibility a little tricky. So if only I had a little bit better view, but it's still not bad. I've been camping here at the Lion Rock around 6,300 feet altitude. I noticed that it's a little cooler up here because of that gain in altitude. The past week I'd been camping down around like 4,600 feet, so it's pretty dynamic change. Unfortunately today, even like yesterday, there was a lot of wildfire smoke, so didn't get the best view of the mountains. Last night it was a pretty nice sunset though because of that smokiness. So yeah, I'm just gonna be heading out. I think I'm gonna drive about 20 miles to my next campsite off-road today and go hang out there. Because the town that I'm going towards tomorrow, where I'm gonna go and do some commerce and whatever, I would have to go like all the way up and then cut over on the highway, but I'm able to just kind of go over the mountains directly on this back road. So it's kind of a fun adventure. The trail's super dusty. There's like a lot of dust kicking up, so it's very dry out here. So I can see why this forest had burned down in years past, unfortunately. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting ride. It's just kind of slow going, but that's okay. My suspension on my truck is pretty nice, so it's like not too jerky. I got over this mountain pass on the trail and all of a sudden it became lush again. So this area doesn't seem to have gotten a forest fire. It looks like it rained here. It's pretty wet. It kind of reminds me of the rainforest. There's all this beautiful, vibrant green moss all over the trees. So it's like really pretty. This is kind of what I imagined off-roading around Washington would be like. Just like super lush looking. I am driving the next day on this kind of optional section of the BDR, just west of this little town. I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, like Wenatchee. And I just ran some errands in town, got a shower at the state park, filled up my water tank, thankfully, got groceries, a bunch of stuff. Got some car parts. I'm going to fix my truck in a little bit this week, probably, when I'm settled down at a campsite. So I'm doing this optional trail. It's like a Saturday, so I'm just like figuring why not like do a little bit extra. It's hot down here in this town. It's like 90 degrees out today at like noon, so hopefully I find some elevated camping tonight where it won't be like 80 or 70 degrees even when I'm trying to sleep, because that's just too warm to sleep in a tent. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm just kind of cruising through this canyon right now. It's like kind of like a dirt, dusty road, and just like a little twisty. It's like it's greener than where the town was. So yeah, so it's kind of fun. It reminds me a little bit of Florida driving on like these off-road forest trails, basically. All right, I'm driving on the next section of the BDR and just kind of winding through these mountains. Went down into another little town that was like 95 degrees. So pretty hot. I gained some elevation and it's 85 degrees now here. So I'm just kind of winding through this road and kind of working my way a little up higher elevation as we go, and kind of like hugging these mountains. So it's not the best view, but I'm sure that it's going to be rewarding in a little bit. So still have some miles to go today. I made it to the summit of Chumstick Mountain. This is on the BDR, and it's like 5,800 feet or so in elevation, so pretty high up. It's super windy up here, so that's why I'm taking this video in this car. So it's like it's an okay view. Again, the wildfire smoke is making everything super foggy looking, so on a clear day I'm sure it'd be even better. But it's pretty fun to get up here. I found a little camp spot back there, but I think I'm gonna continue on this trail and just kind of try to find a decent spot to hang out for the night. So it's 4 o'clock and I'm starting to look for a campsite. I've been marking a couple along the way, but they haven't really been all that impressive. If I come across like a pretty sick campsite, I probably will just stop and get it. But it's also 76 degrees right now, so I'd almost rather just be driving than sitting in the sun, basically. Wow. All right, I finally made it to a camp spot. I drove way further and longer than I thought I would on this day. Started driving at like 1 and now it's 5. So it wasn't what I expected. This route hasn't been what I expected. It wasn't as fun as I thought it would be, unfortunately. But at least I found this really cool spot. I was just striking out. There's just like a really tight 1-track trail on this BDR section. So I was really hoping that I'd find something, but finally did. So it has me thinking, like, do I even want to continue this, or do I just want to go to Idaho or something like that? So I'm gonna think about that tonight. So one of the stops I made while I was in town was going to Harbor Freight, and I got myself one of these electric bee swatters, fly swatters. They're really effective, and I had one. However, I broke it. So just went into Harbor Freight, got myself one here, and I'm reusing the batteries for my old one. So definitely like a key component for road life, having this available to zap any bugs that are coming my way. So I bought some more food today, and now that I have a little bit of downtime, I am reorganizing my little pantry and trying to clean it up. There's a bunch of coffee beans at the bottom, and just get some other things organized. I have a lot of food, so I'm trying to store it correctly now. Sorry, Mom, but I'm getting rid of this dry rice. I used some of it, don't you worry. But I really just like this cooked rice in the bag. And all you have to do is just dump it into the pan and then just heat it up and you're good to go. So it's just a lot easier and a lot better for me by having the rice in the bag rather than dry rice that I have to kind of cook up. I'm relaxing now. So I just calculated, I drove about 53 miles or so off road today. I think it took me like 4 or 5 hours or so. And yeah, I was just getting like really irritable at the end because I was really hoping to find like good campsites like the one I found, but a little bit sooner. And yeah, like I kind of was like on Onyx, that mapping software that I have for off-roading, dropping a bunch of like potential pins for where to camp, and all of them just were coming up as duds and just not really hitting the spot. So thankfully I found this spot. I might just milk it and stay here the next couple days. Tomorrow's Sunday, so just hang out and just kind of relax. So I noticed that my brakes, I think in the rear, were warped, my rotors, because it would kind of pulsate when I'm braking downhill. And so it seemed like it was about time to change out the rotors. It seemed like the pads were kind of okay, but why not? So bought some new rotors and pads from Napa in town, and was kind of dreading this because the parking brake is usually really difficult to deal with. However, this side, driver's side, was pretty easy to get off the rotor. And so I had some decent luck so far. So this side's done. I'm in the shade right now. I think the other side's now starting to be in the shade, so I'm gonna hit that one as well. And it's still not too hot outside yet. Yes. Woo! That wasn't hard. So I'm glad that I'm doing both sides because this passenger side rotor has a groove in it. And I think that's probably not a great thing. Getting out my hot water heater is sometimes a pain, especially if I don't like really need hot water. So I kind of had an idea. I had this extra piece of hose. So I went to Ace and got some little coupler connectors. So now I think I can retrofit and just use my 12-volt water pump to pump water out of the shower head and just have like a cold, running shower. I won't have to like get the whole box for the hot water heater out all the time if I want to rinse off. Like today's a warm day, so I'm gonna try that out. Hopefully this works. Nice, it worked, and I feel much cleaner, and it was just so much easier to set up and quickly rinse down, throw some soap on, rinse off. Didn't really mind that it was colder. It's like pretty warm out today, so it was well worth it after I got dirty changing out those brakes. I keep losing the remote to my little DC lights in the back here, and it's really frustrating in the darkness when I lose it and I don't know where it is, because usually I just lay it right on top of my little food bin, and sometimes that falls off, and so it's not a good place to keep it. But I don't know, I gotta find maybe a better place. However, I just had this thought, because I've been using an AirTag just to like keep it in one of my valuable cases, but this kind of does just as good. So I just taped an AirTag, Apple AirTag, to the back of the remote. So now I can use my phone to locate the AirTag, play a sound, and it'll just kind of play some, like as this I was calling my phone that I lost. So I'm actually pretty excited about this, putting AirTag. Maybe some other people should do this for remotes that they have. So yeah, I think this will work out pretty good. I'm out on the trail again. I went pretty much down in elevation So I'm down in these like dusty yellow hills yet again, and came off the mountain I was camping on for the past 2 nights or so. Now I'm going back up the mountain again to a different one, and I'm going to continue along the BDR trail here until I reach a giant lake. So I'm going to try to make my way. I have a couple of good camp spots hopefully picked out. Hopefully better than this past section, because that was just brutal last time. So just cruising along here. I'm gonna get to this one campsite pretty soon. The first one that I kind of picked out on the map that looks like decent. It does look like it's on the crest of a mountain, so it might be pretty windy. So hopefully it's not too bad. Might just camp there at night just to be there for a second. All right, cool. I found a camp spot. My research paid off, where I was planning out and looking at the map and where I could kind of camp along the trail. I saw this kind of little open sandy spot on the map, so I was like hoping this would be a spot, and it is. So it wasn't too much fretting to find a camp spot for tonight. I mean, it's really beautiful, so I might stay here again for another 2 nights or so. So we'll just see. So I'm wrapping up here at this campsite on the BDR section 4. I'm gonna go and drive about 16 miles or so to, I think, my next campsite. It's like right on top of these pretty tall mountains, so I'm probably gonna gain, I think I looked at like 2,000 feet of elevation. So it's gonna be a little cooler up there. Right now it's like 1 o'clock, so the heat of the day, it's like the high 70s right now, so it's a little warm. So higher elevation will make it 70 flat as the high during the day up there, I think, so that's fine. And I have about 35 miles total until I hit a Lake Chulhan, I think that's how you pronounce it. And on that I'm gonna kind of roll down to the lake, and Saturday I'm gonna go into town, get some supplies, and rip east out of Washington. So that's kind of the plan. Really like this camp spot so far, but gotta go continue on. I think there's going to be some really beautiful sights, because those hills and mountains are pretty tall, so should see some good stuff. There's a lot less wildfire going on right now. There's less smoke, thankfully, so the visibility is not too bad. All right, I just drove about 10 miles or so to this first camp spot that I pinned down, and it's awesome. I'm actually overlooking the desert in Washington. So to the east in kind of central Washington, there's just barren desert, it seems. And so I'm high up enough, I think I rose like 2,000 feet of elevation or so. It's 10 degrees cooler up here than down there where I was camping earlier. So I can just go and see the desert out there. So the sunrise tomorrow morning should be pretty, I'm pretty pumped to see it. And yeah, so this campsite was nice. It's nicely spaced out, because I'm gonna leave and go to the next campsite tomorrow, and then another one the next day, and then that'll be the weekend for me. So just kind of slowly traveling along. The trail is fine. It was just a gravel road up these mountains, like nothing kind of technical at all, which is fine. I guess that's what I expect. It's pretty out here. Lots of little trees around. It's kind of interesting to see where the trees are really thick, and then, you know, it's more barren around here as well. So yeah, so I'm gonna be setting up camp. It's a little bit windy because I'm on top of a mountain right now, so I'm gonna set up my awning walls to block the wind that's coming towards me for the nighttime. And yeah, I think it'll be a nice time out here. So I'm on the road again, left my previous campsite that I was at for one night. I just drove for about 40 minutes or so, so not very far. I just passed the 3 pins that I put down for campsites that are potential. first one was okay, but these two are flat, but no view, like not that spectacular or exciting. So I might just press on, and the ones in front of me that I pinned are the last ones I was thinking about just doing tomorrow night, but I might just press on and do 2 nights if the ones in front of me are going to be sick. So kind of taking a gamble, but I think it could be worth it. All right, awesome. This was worth the extra drive. I was only like 15 minutes down the road, actually. I thought I was gonna be a little bit further to these pins, but yeah, this view is a lot better than the other campsites that I was at earlier. So pretty pleased with the spot, and I'm gonna hang out here for the next 2 nights. So yeah, I think this is definitely like a quality spot here. You can see the desert, and then I can see this giant lake. So this is my last full day in Washington, just hanging out above this big lake. I'm making some lunch right now and just enjoying the weather. It was a little colder earlier today because it's like super overcast, but now thankfully the sun's popped out. There's some wildfire smoke over this little town down here, so hopefully it clears up later today and I can observe it a little bit better. But yeah, so this fourth section of the BDR was better than the previous sections. This little last leg to the Chelhan town is definitely like the best part of the BDR that I've been on. So one thing that's really distinctive about Washington is that there's just tons of hornets here. Like almost every campsite I've been at in Washington state, there have been yellow jackets all around. I didn't see that in Colorado or Utah or California really, but here in Washington in the summer, lots of yellow jackets. So I just looked on my mapping software and mapped it out, and over the past week or so, I've driven about like 140 miles off-road. So that's a lot of miles. I like this type of travel, being able to kind of slowly go along an off-road trail, dip into town, get some supplies, and then go back up and find a campsite along the way. You know, maybe stay a night or two at a campsite and then move along. It's like a pretty fun way to hang out and explore an area. So yeah, so enjoyed it. Excited to leave Washington though. Like I was saying, the hornets are just swarming around me. Thankfully, I've never gotten stung. Hopefully I don't get stung tonight. So yeah, it's been a good time.